Hello and welcome to St Michael's Hill. Thanks very much for joining me today for the January update from the layout. There's been a fair bit going on, a few bits on the workbench, and then some progress has been made with the new layout as well, so I'm going to talk you through all of that sort of stuff. There's also been a new addition to the fleet, and I will certainly talk through that Loco. The other thing I will probably be touching on a little bit is the Hornby announcement that was made at the beginning of January. I did give my predictions on that, so I thought I'd give a little bit of my thoughts on that catalogue release. Last week was actually the first week probably since I started the channel where I didn't post something on Saturday. I did kind of say that this would be happening in the December update of St Michael's Hill, although the following couple of weeks I did actually end up posting videos, but last week was the first time that I didn't post anything. It definitely felt a little bit odd, I'll be truthful, but yeah, it was quite nice in some ways to kind of have that freedom to do what I want, and certainly made me more keen to make this video, so very happy to be back, even though it's not exactly been a long time away. So anyway, without further ado, let's start looking at the things that have been going on this month. The first thing that I've been working on this month is the container office kit that you see in front of me. Now this is a kit from Scale Model Scenery, and along with kind of many of their kits, I've been very, very impressed by this. Goes together very easily. I've started to prime and get ready for painting. These probably will come in all shapes and colours, but I'm probably going to end up going for a blue. So I've put it all together and primed the main container areas, and obviously the stairs have been primed and then painted in black, so they just need to be weathered now. Like I said, it goes together very nicely. One thing I will be doing with this kit is adding a little bit of interior and some lighting. Now you're not going to see loads of it, to be honest. The only opening you can kind of see is there, but I think I'm going to use some of these micro LEDs that I picked up from the Froome show, and basically insert one of those into the cabin. Then I'm going to use some probably some Scale Model Scenery again, kind of desk and chair kits, just to kind of put a little bit of a scene in there. Something like, a couple of workers kind of trying to do a bit of admin at the depot. So that's probably what's going to be going on with that kit. I have, as of yet, not actually fitted the bottom of this container. This is just popped into position, although it is pretty good fit, to be honest. It will pop straight out though. So I'll do that, and I've given myself some kind of room to manoeuvre, I suppose, with that. The bottom of the kit is a container which, again, has the door. It's going to be shut up. I have left this kind of this way. Now, I'm not sure whether to have both on top of each other like this, so they can be kind of accessed like that, or like I've just shown you. But the kit's very flexible in what you can do. These can both be single level, or you can really get kind of creative with how they're looking. If you've got a few of these, you can kind of put together some of the more elaborate container offices that you sometimes see these days. So very, very good kit. If you are interested in picking it up, I will leave a link in the description below. I actually have an affiliate link with Scale Model Scenery, so if you do use that link, I'll probably end up getting a couple of pence from your order back, which would be really useful for me. But whether you use my link or just go straight to scalemodelscenery.co.uk, I thoroughly recommend you do. Wonderful kits, and the work that Justin and Tina and all the team there do is truly incredible. So yeah, very, really happy with this kit, and I'll probably end up showing you a finished version in the February update as it kind of progresses. So then I did mention at the beginning of the video that there was a new member of the fleet, and it is this Bachmann Class 37422 Robert F. Fairlie. it's definitely a model that I've been kind of keeping an eye on for a while, to be honest. I always knew that I wanted a Class 37 in Regional Railways livery. I did, if you remember rightly, give a bit of an update, and it's an old Lima model, and I kind of thought about keeping it like that, but I saw this one on sale at Model Railways Direct over Christmas for less than £100, brand new, which was basically something that was almost too good to turn down. I came into a little bit of money over Christmas as well from a sale of something, so I thought I might as well treat myself to a new Loco, and the money that I'd received pretty much covered this and a lens decoder to go inside of it. So yeah, very, very happy with the purchase. Now, this model has been given a little bit of criticism in the past because of the weathering that Bachmann have put on it, and it's not great, to be honest, but certainly it'll give me either a base to weather it a bit more myself, or it can be removed fairly easily with some thinners to basically start again from scratch. But other than that, it's a very, very standard kind of Bachmann Class 37. Very, very happy with it generally. The levels of detail are pretty good. The livery application throughout is very crisp, no complaints there whatsoever. And look, the weathering, it's not perfect, but at the same time, it's not too bad. I don't want to get too critical of Bachmann on that one. It certainly is a few years old now, and I think some kind of factory weathering techniques have come a little way. But like I said, it really doesn't bother me too much that's the condition of the Loco. I do quite like that it's a slightly different version. So the other Bachmann 37 that I have is the split head code version, which you can see here in the EWS livery. So it's quite nice to have kind of a newer kind of style head code version as well. So it kind of gives me a nice train. On the layout, this will be seen both pulling a kind of Mark 1 and Mark 2 regional railways passenger service, probably up to kind of 4 or 5 coaches that would have been seen on a kind of a Weymouth to Cardiff route, or even a Cardiff up to Manchester type of route. In addition, it will probably be seen on the kind of freight services as well. By the kind of late 90s, when BR had been basically taken over by privatisation, these Locos wouldn't have necessarily been kind of used for passenger services. In fact, they never really were throughout their life. You often saw these on civil engineers trains and other things like that. So this will probably end up both on passenger workings and also the odd bit of freight as well. I haven't yet fitted the decoder, but I did pick up a standard, for me at least, lens 21 pin DCC chip that I will add to the Loco at some point. But yeah, very, very happy with how this is going, and hopefully in the next video, next update, I will have fitted that chip, and you'll see her running. But yeah, I still haven't done that yet this month, which is why she won't be in any of the running shots in this video. Something else I've been working on this month is something that I've never done before, which is kit building a wagon. The model that I've gone for is the Cambrian shark van, which is kind of built in the, I think, mid-50s, and it's still around on the network when I'll be modelling in the kind of late 90s. So I'll be doing this in a civil engineers or Dutch livery. At the moment, it's literally bare plastic on the outside. The insides have all been kind of primed and painted, and the chassis has also been primed in a black. I'm still to fit the distinctive kind of ploughs, which is where the wagon gets its name, I suppose. So they're still to go on, and the roof itself is still not attached, so I can kind of work on various other things. You'll see that I fitted the kind of working gear, the wheel and all that sort of stuff, and the levers inside of the each end. I've also added some kind of washers for a bit of weight. The wagon is very, very light, so I kind of wanted to just kind of add a few washers, so they've kind of really added some weight to it without causing too many problems at all. I actually just used a hot glue gun just to hold those in place so they won't rattle around. As with pretty much every every picture I've ever seen of one of these, one of the doors is kind of opened, and I will end up fitting a figure inside of here as well, as they were often kind of manned, and could often be used actually to kind of lead a train in shunting manoeuvres. So I will get a figure added at some point. The roof obviously fits back on fairly nicely, and I'll get that kind of fixed down at some point, and then I will get painting. There's a fair bit of kind of detail that is on these kits. So all the railings, as you can see, are kind of fairly well kind of picked out from the moulding. I will be trying to paint all of those white, and then the livery itself will be in a civil engineer, so grey, probably very similar to the colour that it is now, with a yellow strip along the top. The ploughs will be, I will try and kind of get a bit of yellow on them, as they probably would have been painted yellow originally, but they'll be heavily weathered. The whole wagon itself, whole wagon will be kind of heavily weathered and battered. It was probably at the end of its life, to be honest, in the period that I'll be modelling. The only thing that needs to be added then is a coupler, so I will probably go for something like an Instanta from Acura scale, something like that. I probably won't try and fit a NEM pocket and go there. I'll probably just make this in a kind of semi-fixed rake with a few of the other wagons. So that's probably what I'll be going for. And again, hopefully this time next month it'll be kind of getting towards the point where it'll be all finished. But it's definitely something that I've enjoyed. It's been a different experience. Like I say, I've never put together a kind of kit-built wagon, so it's been a good challenge to get it together. They're fairly detailed. The underframe, there's brake gear and piping that you kind of need to build, and that's all been kind of going together fairly nicely. The wheels that actually came with the kit, often Cambrian kits don't come with wheels or bearings. I bought this one off eBay and it did, but the wheels that have come with it are plastic, and they're okay, but I might look to add metal wheels at some point, depending on how it runs. But it does move fairly freely, and now that it's got a bit more weight to it, I'm hoping it won't derail. But we'll have to see once the wagon's finished. But if I need to replace those wheels, I certainly can. A big part of what I've been doing this month is getting the baseboards ready for construction. So all of the frames have now been built, and I've now also fitted temporary kind of boltings together. So these will all now be fixed into position using the bolts that you can see here. Now each board, or most of the boards, have got those holes in and have been joined to other boards. So I will show you kind of all the progress that's been made. So as you can see, it's a little bit of a mess, but generally all the boards are now kind of in pairs and fixed. In addition to that, you can see that the boards on the tops here have got other joiners for where they fit, which is perfect. So these can all be kind of bolted together to form one piece, ready for the legs. Speaking of which, the legs I've kind of started to drill out. Now these are kind of fairly simple. They're using an M8 drill bit, just drilling a hole in, fitting a fixer which will take a adjustable foot. The feet that I've got, I had lying around, and I'm not sure really if they're going to quite do the job. They're not going to actually increase the surface area at all of the foot, so I'll try these out, but it might end up that I buy some different ones. I've certainly been recommended some other ones that I might well end up using, but as I had these ones lying around, I thought I'd at least give them a try. And as they're standard M8 diameter, there's not going to be any problems replacing those at any point. As you can see, there's a few more legs left to do. I think I probably need another 4 legs that I don't yet have, so I'll need to go and buy a little bit more wood and do those. But generally all the ones that I've done are ready, either with legs or with feet, or I'll just finish off those last 12. The one at the front there is actually a spare, so I'll end up using that at some point. Speaking of wood, I actually had another delivery. So the garage, as you can see, is absolutely chock-a-block full of plywood. All of this stuff here is offcuts that I will use later that hasn't been cut to size. this stuff in this pile has. Now, there's loads of birch ply in here. I'm actually going to use as a pocket for fixing the legs. I'll quickly show you that now, how that's going to work. So I'm going to basically create a pocket like this. The pocket will be fixed to the frame of the baseboard, allowing the leg to actually be removable. I will put a bolt through these sections, so I can bolt the leg to the outside of the frame and also to the pocket, just to keep everything in place. But effectively it will mean that if I ever need to, the legs can be removed, which is hopefully not going to be for a long while, but it should give a nice neat joint. I've offset the distance by about 100mm at the end, so I can then just probably keep this at the bottom. It just gives me a bit of clearance at the top there in case of any wires or anything that needs to be placed through at the corner. Hoping now that I've got all these in place and they're all cut to size, it will just be a case of getting to work and getting these on. I think in total there's going to be 26 legs, I believe it is, across the entire frame. So fair bit of work to do, but hopefully I can crack on with that in the next month. The other cut sections underneath of the box of birch ply is some more poplar ply that is going to be used for a couple of things. Firstly, the larger sheets are actually going to be the tops of the fiddle yard, so they're going to go straight onto these frames here to form the fiddle yard. There are some smaller strips underneath that will be used to build another frame just like these, that's going to make the lift out section that will be going across the door here. So fingers crossed I can get those up again this next month, and hopefully by the end of the month, and certainly for next month's update, you might well see a lot of the baseboards up on legs, and hopefully start to give you a real idea about the size of the layout and how it's going to look. So there we go, that's the monthly update for January. It's been fairly short this month, but it's been a fair bit of work going on. It's just not been that entertaining. Drilling holes in bits of wood isn't necessarily the most kind of interesting for a video, but hopefully next month you'll see some progress being made. One thing I did say I'd do at the beginning of the video is give my feedback, I suppose, on the Hornby 2020 catalogue. I think I was fairly close with some of what I said in terms of the predictions that I made. Obviously the big headline news was the APT, and I didn't really mention that at all. I had heard a few rumours, but it kind of completely slipped my mind, to be honest. So I think that's a very interesting kind of model for Hornby to go after, and if done well could be very impressive. But yeah, in some ways a slightly strange choice, but I think a lot of the catalogue kind of picks out kind of key points of their history in terms of, you know, the rocket, the Hornby 00 stuff, and the ATP, which is a really kind of big, certainly a model I remember seeing when I was first into the hobby. I think in terms of things that I'm interested in terms of locos, there is only one, and that's the Class 31 in the Dutch Civil Engineers livery. So I probably will end up pre-ordering that. And then there's the HST with the buffer fitted version in Swallow, which is something that I might look to get, but certainly not on the rush to pre-order that. There are a few interesting wagons as well that I will probably end up trying to get a couple of. But on the whole, it wasn't really a catalogue that particularly suited what I was modelling, which actually in many ways is a bit of a relief with the amount of things I already want from other manufacturers. One thing I will kind of, I guess, give my point of view on is the Class 91. Look, I've got no evidence for any of this. This is just my thoughts. I said it in the predictions video that I thought Hornby would go for a 91. I did think it would be more likely that they would copy what they did in response to Hatton's 66 by re-releasing their kind of railroad version in multiple liveries. But it has turned out that they have gone for a fully retooled Class 91. which I believe personally, and this is just my belief from the way that they reacted to Rails with their Terrier and Hattons with their 66. I believe it is a reaction to Cavalex. I'm not going to say it's a case of copying or doing anything like this, but I do think it's a reaction to what they've done. I think it was intended potentially to scare them off, and unfortunately it does seem to have worked, as Cavalex have announced in the last couple of days that actually they've shelved their Class 91. But look, I think sometimes these things happen in business. I'm sure that Cavalex would have released an incredible version of the model, probably better than what Hornby will do, just in terms of the detailing that those guys put into the models they design is just incredible. It was always likely to use a 21-pin decoder with all the digital elements that brings over Hornby's 8-pin decoder, so I think it would have been more advanced there. And generally I just feel that with the Mark IVs and the Mark IV DVT as well, it would have been a far superior choice. But look, these things happen in business, and I'm sure whatever Cavalex decide to do next will be equally as kind of impressive, and I'm certainly looking forward to what they are going to be doing. I did want to kind of reach out and support them, because I found them nothing but great guys to deal with at shows and things like that, and I have actually pre-ordered some of their wagons this week, so look forward to those arriving, and I look forward to seeing what those guys do next. Anyway, there was going to be some sort of announcement from Bachmann on the 5th of February or 6th of February. It looks like this is now not really going to be a proper announcement. They've delivered a catalogue through my door this week, which basically says that they're not going to be announcing anything until it's almost ready. So it looks like there won't be anything to really kind of see there over the next kind of week or so. So that was just a bit of a Bachmann update. There's nothing really to kind of do a predictions video on. Anyway, thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week potentially, and certainly next month on St Michael's Hill. Thanks very much. Bye bye.